News surrounding the Steelers this offseason, we've decided to put together a segment we call Statements of Steel. Yes, very serious. Jeremy, what do you want to say about Mike Tomlin?
Dan, it would take a colossal meltdown for Mike Tomlin to face any sort of real pressure. I know they made a bunch of splash moves. The expectations are heightened, but meltdowns are just something that Mike Tomlin doesn't do. He's allergic to them. Every year, winning season, longest tenured coach in the NFL, and he is a catalyst for why Aaron Rodgers is in Pittsburgh right now. He wants to play for Mike Tomlin. They want to see that through.
Mike T, how much pressure is on Mike T in Pittsburgh this year?
Look, there's significant pressure on him, but there is every year. I think what's interesting is how does he manage so many players over 30? You think about Aaron Rodgers, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Darius Slade, Jalen Ramsey. He's the right guy to manage it, but they have to be ready to go for September. So I'm going to be interested because he usually has a very competitive camp. Does he maybe pare back on that just a little bit?
EJ, what do you think about Mike Tomlin when you look ahead to this Steelers season? Big year for him?
Yeah, it's a huge year for Mike Tomlin. I'll say this, Aaron Rodgers is going to help Mike Tomlin and the Steelers team deliver their first victory in the playoffs since 2016. And the big reason is the mesh with Arthur Smith is now the play caller there with Aaron Rodgers. When you look at A-Rod and his tenure as an NFL quarterback, under center play action passes is when he plays his best football. In the past 5 seasons, he has a 55 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio. You look at that with Jonnu Smith adding to that offense as a tight end and a receiver. I'm expecting to win in the first round of the playoffs for the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers.
It's interesting because it's been a long time since Aaron Rodgers or the Steelers has won a playoff game. Do you agree with EJ that he is set up for success in Pittsburgh this year?
I do. The 2 tight end sets has a chance to be lethal for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers offense. Acquiring Jonnu Smith, who was one of the best in yards after catch last year. Got a great stat from my guy Hembo. Aaron Rodgers was operating at about 25% or more on 2 tight end sets during his 4 MVP seasons. So he's comfortable with that. He's in a situation where he doesn't have to be the hero. The questions are around the league, really, will he acquiesce to Arthur Smith? And, will he run the Aaron Rodgers system or will they run Smith's system? My sense is that he's going to be able to be the guy maybe 3 or 4 plays a game. He can put the cape on and be the hero. But for the most part, he is a game manager at this stage in his career.
Look, when you sign somebody in June, there is no acquiescing. You are adapting. This is the offense that we've been installing. This is what everybody's been working through all spring and going back last year with Arthur Smith. I do think that Jonnu Smith is a good sort of addition, as Jeremy alluded to, but I think Caleb Johnson, as we've talked about, 3rd round pick out of Iowa, if they could get the run game going for a 42-year-old quarterback, that'll be his best friend.
Arthur Smith wants to get that run game going. We got one more statement of steel. What do you got on TJ Watt?
Let's go. Let's get this deal done. There's been plenty of negotiations. You don't do everything you've done from DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers, everything we talked about, and not sign a homegrown Hall of Fame first ballot player in TJ Watt. And I'm not sure what we're waiting for. We know Trey Hendrickson's dealing with his contract in Cincinnati. We know Michael Parsons is dealing with his contract with Dallas. So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going right now. The day I make that Jalen Ramsey trade, I'm calling up TJ Watt's agent and say, hey, look, we have plenty of room to get this done. Let's go. Let's get it done. It's only going to get more expensive.
Jeremy, what is going on with those negotiations?
Yeah, Dan, when I talk to people with the team, the message is pretty much the same. It's that, hey, we're working on this. We want TJ Watt to be a Steeler. There's not really a sense of trying to trade him. Some of the trade talk has been surprising league-wide. Talking to other teams, they feel like the Steelers want to make him a legacy-type player that will be there long-term. It's just, and the Steelers acknowledge this, these negotiations are tricky because the money is so massive now. We're talking about maybe making him the highest-paid edge rusher in the NFL, $40+ million per year. There are a lot of details that come with that. But the feeling is that this could heat up leading into training camp later this month.
He is 30 now. There are lots of teams that are hesitant to guarantee money for guys in future years in their 30s. Bengals are dealing with that with Trey Hendrickson. EJ, what do you? When you look at the situation the Steelers are in with TJ Watt, what goes through your mind?
Well, the biggest thing is you do all these transactions in the offseason. You're patient for Aaron Rodgers. You draft some really good players like Caleb Johnson to help the run game. You bring in DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith. Everybody's getting paid. And if they don't get TJ Watt, guys, all that's a wash. I'm sorry. I just don't see this team, like I said, getting to a playoff or even a playoff win if you don't have the cornerstone piece of your defense. Look, TJ Watt is that good of a defensive end. And you look at the quarterbacks in that division, along with some of the receivers, if they're not getting pressured, you have no chance. And so I think it's so important at this point. And I will hope it gets done this week, guys, if they get TJ Watt in there. And Himbo gave me this stat. So TJ Watt's had 3 titles as far as sacks since 1982 when that stat became an actual thing. And the other person ahead of him is Deacon Jones. We're talking about rare air, a current Hall of Famer at this point already in his career. I hear that he's 30, but you have to get this deal done done because he's a huge piece of the success of the Steelers.
And EJ, as a former player, you can't bring in all these other players, be it, DK Metcalf and everyone else that we talked about, and not pay TJ Watt. Your locker room would look at you upside down like, how can't you reward somebody that's not only been so productive, but has done everything right?
So what's fascinating about this situation this week is Adam Schefter's report a couple days ago that teams are kind of monitoring this, right? Like pondering the idea of can they eventually trade for him if things go south with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh still doesn't want to consider that possibility. But EJ, if it got to that, who should be calling the Steelers to try to get TJ Watt?
Yeah, Dan Campbell should be calling them on speed dial, guys. Look, if he is able to join a Detroit Lions team, and I understand that Aiden Hutchinson had the injury last year, he's progressing, he's going to be able to go this season. You would imagine this is a team that's already ready to go throughout the playoffs, and I think they're a pass rusher away along with Aiden Hutchinson to win a Super Bowl. So if I'm a team like Detroit Lions and TJ Watt all of a sudden becomes available, I am calling the Steelers day in, day out until that deal gets done. I think he'd be a great piece, and I also feel like he'd be a great fit to the culture that Dan Campbell has, with his toughness, discipline, all those things that you see from TJ Watt throughout his entire career.
Yeah, EJ, I see you with Dan Campbell, but I'm going to raise you with Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, who have made every right decision since they got to Washington a year ago. They have a superstar quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Their offense is loaded. Got 2 new tackles in Laramie Tunsil, Josh Conley, added Deebo Samuel. The one missing piece to me is one more edge pass rusher. What a story would be for the Washington Commanders to get TJ Watt. I think they would be right in the conversation with the powers of the NFC.
Packers an interesting pick.
Yeah, I'm going to make TJ Watt happy, the player. Hey, come home to Wisconsin, baby. Come play for the home area Packers. The Green Bay Packers are actually low-key looking at the pass rush market around free agency, potential trades, potential signings. They have some new cap space after they moved on from Jair Alexander, the star cornerback. Why not use that money to make TJ Watt the highest paid edge rusher?
Yeah, and I went with
Skull fan, listen up, because this one little sentence might not sound like much at first, but it says everything about where the Vikings are right now in the NFL. Just after that part got cut from Get Up, Dan Graziano actually said, yeah, and I went with Minnesota. I feel like they're this close, right? That's what Dan Graziano just said live on ESPN, talking about possible landing spots for TJ Watt if things go south in Pittsburgh. And when a guy like Graziano brings up Minnesota in that conversation, you better believe it means something. He could have said Buffalo, he could have picked Miami, the Jets, even Green Bay, but no. He said, Minnesota is this close, and honestly, I couldn't agree more. This offense is growing. Jordan Addison's about to take a huge step. We've got one of the best young pass rushing duos in the NFC. Kevin O'Connell's got this locker room locked in. And JJ? Justin Jefferson is ready to wreck defenses this year. Now, just imagine TJ Watt in this defense. Yeah, I know. It's all hypothetical, but just the fact that Minnesota is being mentioned like this. That's respect. That's the league finally recognizing that the Vikings are building something serious. The media is paying attention. The league's watching. Now it's just up to us to go out and execute. No excuses this year, so let me know in the comments. Do you think the Vikings really are this close? Would you go all in for TJ Watt if he became available? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on those notifications, because Report Vikings is bringing you every step of this journey to the playoffs. And maybe more. Let's go. Skol.